We're risking it live, aren't we, Liz? We're risking it live today, hoping that the broadband's going to hold out. We've got Liz. No, we've struggled. We've struggled through lockdown big time. But anyway, we're risking it, and we hope you're looking forward to what we've got in store for you this afternoon. Please do, like and thumbs up and do all of that good stuff, and send us questions as well. It takes a little bit of a time for the questions to come through on our system. The questions do, however, come through, and we can show them on the screen and everything. So feel free to ask Liz whatever you darn well pleasey. We're talking about episode 4 of SAS Who Dares Wins, which was on telly at 9 o'clock last night, wasn't it, Liz?
It certainly was. And it was good, wasn't it? It was exciting.
Oh my God. Yeah, it was riveting with a capital R. Absolutely amazing. I take notes as I'm going through, because I know we're going to be chatting with you, because being a team member of SAS Who Dares Wins, you've got the inside track on everything. Those of you who don't know, Liz is quite an amazing person. She is a local lass in terms of Derbyshire, Staffordshire. You're down in New Toxeter, aren't you, Liz?
Yeah, Staffordshire.
It's Staffordshire, isn't it, Utah? And also a member of the SAS Who Dares Wins team. Liz is also a graduate coach with Simply Changing, which we're dead proud of, and does amazing things. She's an amazing coach, an active coach. So you can be coached by Liz, and we'll put her links again in the right at the end of this recording, and in the comments below. So we'll do that for you. It was riveting. I was taking my notes, and I got to a point where I was just, I think, watching the telly open-mouthed, and there was no writing taking place whatsoever at one point. And then I realised what I should be doing, because I should have been working. So it was all about Brendan. It was a bit about Tony, and there was a smidgen of it about Lauren, really. So Brendan, where do we begin with him, Liz? He started off, and one of the things he did was come onto the parade ground and say, feet apart, hands behind your back. What do you think was going on for him last night?
I think what is happening, and this is just my opinion, and don't forget, I wasn't there for that particular series. I was there for the series before. But I think what was happening with Brendan, he's quite, he's fit and active. He's always had to be fit and active. He's very good at what he does, and he's used to winning. He's also quite bright. And he's also, you've seen snippets of him so far, having a bit of a laugh with a few people, and being kind of on top of it, really, mood-wise. And I think feeling like he's surviving it so far, and feeling happy that it's gone as well as it has for him. He hasn't shown yet any sort of weakness, but this week the DS seemed to be starting to pick a few holes and get a little bit exasperated with his he's quite rapid to respond with a bit of a, not a smart ass remark, but he seems to be able to quickly have an excuse stroke reason for lack of performance or what have you. And he seems to be getting into this habit of constantly trying to justify his behaviour or lack of success in a certain area, whereas actually what may be required of him in those instances is to sit down, shut up and listen to what he's being told. They want to see him taking some criticism on the chin, putting it through here, and then coming out with something that is better suited for the job in hand. And he seems quite reluctant. And I think that some of the issue with Brendan is his ego with a small e, his sense of identity and who he is quite well established as an older member of the gang. And he's very reluctant to let go of any of that at the moment, because I think it's part of what is keeping him afloat mentally, is the who am I, what am I? And actually, although it's kind of counterintuitive sometimes to let go of your ego and go, put yourself in the hands of the DS and truly absorb what they're trying to communicate to you, because with that, they know that if you can absorb what they're trying to give you, you will succeed, because you have the minerals, as Ollie often calls them, to do so. And that can be exasperating when they start to see somebody not listening because they're trying to formulate a reason why, but and I didn't have the oxygen. Shut up. That's what I'm saying, shut up. No, don't want to hear that. I want you to shut up, pin your ears back, and just listen to what I'm going to tell you. And actually take it. Don't just kind of dismiss it and bat it off. It's not meant as a criticism to break you down. It's actually meant as a criticism, a constructive means of criticism, whereas if you actually absorb this information, you can do something with it and overcome the next challenge. So that's what I think.
Liz, thank you. That was beautifully explained. My question, I've got many questions. As coaches, what we are always saying is people will do the best that they can with the resources that they've got, whilst ever they have the resources to develop new resourcefulness as well. So we always have the opportunity to listen, to understand, to change our language and change our behaviour. And I think that in that pressurized environment where you're stepping into the world of these incredibly talented SAS professionals, yourself included, Liz, in terms of the skillfulness of and the military experience that you've got, and you're going from, I guess, dancing around a ballroom, which requires a huge amount of discipline and mental discipline and physical ability. How do you make that transition from using what you've got but also developing new things when maybe you're not 100% certain what you should be doing? You think you're on the right tracks, you think you're listening, you think you're doing what you're being told, but it's just not like translating across to the DS, to the team.
Well, firstly, I've just got to remind everybody that I am not in the SAS. Okay, just don't get confused that I'm in the SAS. I'm not. I've worked with them, but I'm not in the SAS. However, I do know exactly what you mean. How do you get over this thing of, I've got some stuff to offer, but I'm not making the mark here, and I can't get there seemingly at the moment. I think it is about this ego problem. It's when the ego becomes a problem, because you can't let it go, because you don't have quite enough trust either in what remains once your ego isn't there, because you take your ego out of the equation, there's still something there, but you're not that sure of it. And also, take your ego out of the equation, you're putting your trust entirely in somebody else's hands, aren't you? But it's a matter of trust and it's a matter of faith. Have you got either of those, and can you suspend your ego for the short time it will take for you to adjust your bearing and crack on, and maybe discover a new way of being and doing that you might find uncomfortable for a short time, but yields some amazing results that you couldn't have dreamt of. That can happen when you suspend your ego and you put your trust in your team, or in this instance, not only in his team, in the DS, but you've got to also have faith in, if I take my ego out of the equation, what's left? Do you see what I mean? I mean, these are very abstract ideas, Lou, but if you think about what your ego is and your sense of identity, who you are, what you do, what you've achieved, what's that stuff say on your CV? who are you? What's your name? And all that. And you take that all away. What is left here? What's this? What's left fighting?
Yeah.
And
Indeed.
surviving and thriving and overcoming and thinking and what is intuiting.
Yeah.
So am I making sense?
Yeah, totally. I mean, our identity is everything, and often when our identity is challenged, when people are made redundant, for example, or when a relationship breaks down, your identity changes, and those challenges take something of you and take something about take a lot of thought to put ourselves back and to understand who we are in this. You know, this thing about, you know, the new normal that we're talking about now. Well, people have experienced the new normal many times over in their lives. They've moved jobs, they've dealt with redundancies, they've worked through relationship breakdowns and everything in between. And you find another place for yourself. In this situation, it's like finding something really quick, isn't it? You know, how is it working for them, and how is it working for them, and how can I make it work for me? It's a huge challenge people put themselves under, isn't it, or through when they go on this
and
program.
Also, I think what people are doing, and this is perfectly understandable and natural, is looking around at what everybody else is doing and how they're doing it. Now, that's great as long as you can take from that what you need, but don't hang on to somebody else's methodology or thought processes or demons or anything. Look at it, use it as a rough template, but don't try and emulate anybody else. You've got to do you. And you've got stuff inside of you that if you get your ego out of the way, will knock your socks off. It'll knock your socks off, but you won't discover it while you're still having a chat. And while this is still gobbing off back at Ant going, oh, well, you know, whatever it was that was the issue yesterday, and I can't remember, but I think it was at some stage he tried to lift Tony up, and obviously that was hard, and he didn't have the oxygen. Yeah, he didn't have the oxygen. He couldn't find that at the time. But you know what? If he'd have stopped overthinking it and just gone right back to the essence of, okay, so how am I going to get this heavy thing round here? What do I need to do? Where's my grit coming from? And he could maybe have sucked that up a bit better without. He had a chat with himself and rationalised why it was hard.
And then expressed it, because he talked about oxygen on a few of the exercises, didn't he? He talked about oxygen a number of times, and that's his conversation with himself, isn't it? There isn't it. I can't get enough oxygen to make my muscles work. Probably
it was like that with Fash, wasn't it? Last week was actually, well, I'm 58, and you know, and that's the narrative, and. But believe me, what I'm not doing here is having a go at either Fash or Brendan for giving themselves an out. Absolutely not. We're all guilty. We've all done it loads of times. Some of us live our lives doing it all the time, and that's why we stay in one place.
Yeah.
But if you want to get over that thing, you got to ditch that narrative that you're telling yourself and try and replace it with a new, more resourceful one pretty fucking quickly. Otherwise, you're not going to manage.
No, I mean, we always talk about that. You know, we train people to become coaches, and one of the things that we always say is don't get stuck in a person's story. So a person's story will keep them where they are. The unresourcefulness that they tell themselves, like there isn't enough oxygen, I can't get oxygen into my muscles, therefore I can't move any faster. So that would be the block, wouldn't it? Your range of questions: how can I make this work? How can I make my body work?
Maybe if you say to your body, well, you're going to have to make the oxygen work then, aren't you?
Yeah.
Then the body might go, oh, okay then. I don't know, but you you can but try to modify your self-talk to get you into a resourceful state. And you know what? It does work.
Yeah.
It does work.
It does. We see it all the time. You see it all the time. We see it all the time. What you are is a specialist in resisting interrogation. That's your specialism. And you must see that all of the time, the way that people find the resourcefulness, the resilience to be able to get through those horrendous situations where you're put in stress positions, white noise, and
yeah. I think holding the stress positions is all about that self-talk and that narrative as well. And okay, how can I translate this nonsense that's coming into my earphones, this white noise, into something that's going to make me stronger? How can I make it into my favourite song, or my plan for world domination, or my safe place, or my mind palace? How can I turn this white noise into something I can use? And because you've got to be in that thing where you're constantly scanning for resourcefulness.
Yeah.
Where can I get an ounce of resourceful? Ooh, I'll just take a snippet of that and see if that'll get me over the next 3 seconds. It did. Okay, next. And then, you learn where you can find this stuff from. And that is what they're looking for. They're looking for you scanning every last ounce of your fibre for getting over the next 3-4 minutes.
Yeah.
And not even knowing where after that the next lot of courage or positive talk is. And they're also looking at not giving you a very definite idea of when this particular phase of pain will end. You never know when it's going to end. It only ends when they say so. So you've got to start this habit of downloading from any direction you can your next ounce of energy. And drive.
Indeed, because what they had done, I don't know whether it happens on the same day, but they had traversed the wire, and hanging from that wire must take an awful lot of energy out of your system. And then 25 minutes in the cold water, oh my goodness, I can only imagine. How quickly does hypothermia kick in, actually? It would be cold enough, wouldn't it, for a period of time for people to get hypothermic, I would have thought.
It's horrible. And it takes the wind out of the sails really, really quickly. I mean, that's...
And they're in there for 25 minutes. Yeah. So having done that and then having to carry Tony would have been a shock to the system. Physically, he probably was questioning, where do I get the energy from? The oxygen's not getting to my muscles.
Because rationally, it's like insane. It's insane.
Yeah.
Why would anybody want to do that?
Yeah.
When they can, at any time, get up and walk away. So this is a dialogue, an inner dialogue you're having with yourself, isn't it? It's like, really?
Yeah.
Really? This guy's 19 stone. I'm not. I've been in the sea for half an hour. I didn't like that much, and then they made me crawl out again for a second time. It's all horrible, and it's designed to finish you off.
Yeah.
And the only thing that you can do is just draw down from anywhere you can get your hands on it, this resolve to carry on. And it's testing you. Have you got the resolve?
Yeah. So I think my view, I don't know what your view is, Liz, but my view is that he would have gone on, but they took his armband away from him. What would that have been like for him?
Horrible. Horrible, because he was still arguing with himself. So I imagine he found that quite difficult to accept, actually. But maybe I'm hoping that by the time he got back and got some food inside him and had a kip, he'd have been fine. He'd have been chatting with the other guys that had left, and maybe had an opportunity to sort of have a debrief you know, with some of his the people that had gone before him. But I don't know. I don't know whether that happened. But he would certainly have, I think, found it hard because he still very much was taking note of what his ego was telling him.
Yeah.
And therefore, he still had something to give, but he was resisting putting his ego to one side. He couldn't find a way around it.
Right. And they found a way.
That was the hardest thing for him. He didn't quite understand that he needed to park it all. And he may have thought to himself that he had parked it, but he hadn't quite.
No, no, he has a long journey to go, and I wonder whether he knows what he could have done. Even now, I wonder whether he knows what he could have done. I can imagine someone like Brendan going on to do some training to kind of discover.
Yeah, I think actually, do you know, I think he did a great job.
Mm.
He did a great job, and I think by and large he was getting there, but he just couldn't quite let go of what he needed to let go of. Because there's a moment, isn't there, where you let go of something and you don't know what's going to replace it, and you think, I'm going to fall. Well, actually, what might happen, and if you know, is you let go of one thing as you're grabbing hold of another, but you don't know how reliable that thing is that you're going to grab hold of. You have to trust.
Yeah.
And that's where I think he fell down a little bit. So I think he will be absolutely fine, and I think he's a bit of a thinker actually too. He's not. He's quite a bright guy, I think, and I think he's a positive person. I think he tries to do his best, but I also think that he will maybe examine what it is that was found lacking in you know, that saw him off. And yeah, maybe he will get to grips with that quite easily once he's given it some contemplation.
And once again, as you've said previously, they do get access to support. They're not just set back home, given what they've been through. They are supported through their decisions and their experience.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is great.
Yeah, very well.
Which is great. So if we could learn one thing so far from what has happened with everybody that has left this particular series, it would really be about that self-talk, wouldn't it, Liz? It would be about getting hold of it and making it work for you, rather than reasons why you aren't doing things, why things aren't working. Would you agree?
The quicker that you can learn to get over yourself, the better the results. And the closer you can keep your ego to your true self, the better, really, because it's going to make it easier.
Yeah.
So what am I trying to say? Don't be on permanent send. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You've got your press down on the radio all the time. Nobody else can come over the airwaves, so it means you won't receive. So that's a military term, but if you're on permanent send and you've got your pressel held down on the radio, nobody else can say anything.
You can't allow anybody to speak to you. Yeah, brilliant. That's another one of your amazing analogies, Liz. Really powerful, really powerful. I might pinch it, actually. I might pinch that analogy. Lauren was on, what do you call that activity where you string a rope across an amazingly high valley, and then what she was in the middle of that and doing really well. And when she fell off, I think she was when she let go, as most of them did, I think, she was, I think, beside herself, but they were really encouraging in the moment. You know, you've showed your commitment, and that's what we're looking for. They were really clear, weren't they?
Everybody came off that rope and didn't manage to get back up again. That wasn't what they were testing. although it looked like that's what they were testing. Joey Essex nearly managed it, but everybody else plopped off in the middle, understandably. It's terrifying, because all the other thing is it was such a distance between one side and the other side that when you did bounce up and down on the rope, it was like boom. It would have been a horrible sensation, a feeling out of control. So Lauren did great, but as she went across, I was thinking to myself, she's going to have some balance issues here, because of course one hand will be gripping the rope, and the other one, she's sort of to there, isn't she? So she had the crook of her elbow and a little bit of to give her some balance, but all her strength was having to come from the one hand.
Yeah.
Then the leg that she was pushing off on, and that's what Billy was trying to encourage her to use her leg more than anything else. But when you're on there and you're gripping on for dear life, it's kind of difficult. It's a transfer of weight thing, isn't it? Like a climber or a dancer. Trying to transfer your weight when you're hanging on for grim life on a bloody rope on the middle, it's going on like this, is harder than you might think. And it's the transfer of weight and coordination is tricky, because you've really got to use this. And when this is used up by being terrified, it's not that easy to think it through, I think, in my experience of rope regain, which I don't do on a daily basis, to be fair. And also the main thing with that, and now this is a metaphor for business and success and what have you, is, for God's sake, don't look at the ground and don't look just in front of you. Actually look at your objective, which is the other side. Just look at that. Look at that, for God's sake, because if you look down, you will either be sick or fall off, or both. Because if you look at your objective, you're far more likely to just concentrate on inching closer. Keep
your focus close, I think, isn't it, for something like that? I mean, I can't imagine what it must be like to literally hold on to a rope that's a couple of inches in width, as you say, bouncing around like a good un, and keep your focus on the next hand grip or the next inch that you're going to move across. But it is a good metaphor for organizations, isn't it, that we have a goal that we want to achieve. You're in business, I'm in business, lots of people that we know are in business, and you have to inch towards that goal step by step, really, inch by inch, don't you?
If somebody else says they've got you, don't look at the pitfalls, just keep running towards the objective. And the DS had got them all safe. They were safe. Although Tony below, when he fell off, it was going to be a bloody struggle to get it, winch him back up, to be fair.
Yeah.
I think Billy was thinking, oh, shit.
He did. I mean, he did look like as they drew him in, it looked like he bounced off the cliff face.
Oh, man. It was like trying to get off a boat against the side of the quay in a storm.
Yeah, not easy.
Flipping heck, that body took a pounding there twice before he then sort of braced himself and got his leg up onto that little step.
Yeah. And
Precarious though it was.
That little wooden step that looked like, what am I supposed to do with that thing?
Winch me up. You must be joking.
I think he was in that moment. I think he was expecting to be winched up, and there was no way. And it was, I know, and it was almost like he froze, didn't he? He didn't know how he was going to move his body to step up onto that wooden thing. It
was like, I'm just one man. Not Superman here.
Absolutely.
You got to move yourself, love.
I mean, they would have been really high, wouldn't they, at that point? He's been through that terrifying deal. And then he's got to let go of that rope, hasn't he?
Remember that big deal when Katie Price had to let go and go back with her hands on her head when she's abseiling down? It was as momentous as that moment was for her, and that took some balls. And for Tony to do this, it was like, oh mate. And in the end, I mean, I don't know what was edited out, but I think that Billy did a brilliant job on having a little man cuddle on top of that pose, because Tony was broken for a moment and Bill was doing his best dad impression of, come on mate, come on, there, you're all right, come on, let's have a cuddle, we'll get you off here.
He did though, didn't he? He did. He gave him, I mean, do you think they respected him? Because then Foxy said that he is frightened of heights, but it wasn't Foxy who was there, it was Billy who was there, wasn't it? Yeah. So do you think they kind of get that they are really working hard to overcome all of those fears?
They know they know what they know. They can see it a mile off. Yeah. I mean, to be fair, Ollie went over and did the demo, didn't he? I didn't think he looked too comfortable either, to be fair. I might be doing him down. He might have been absolutely, all over it. But I think it's a challenge for anybody, not just the recruit. For any of them lot.
Yeah.
That was a big old ask.
It is. Because the other thing you're doing is, I mean, I don't even know how they get on the rope in the first place, but you're going out head first, aren't you? You're going out into the
there'll be several minutes of fanning about edited out for people trying to get, oh my God. And it will have probably been, right, I want you to lie down now on this post and I want you to inch out. And I bet that it took, I don't know, some considerable time to even get their entire body positioned on the rope, let alone out towards the middle. Lauren, getting back to Lauren here, she did an awesome job. Lauren really did well to get out as far as she did. Don't forget that the lighter that you are here, so the ladies might have found it slightly easier. The rope, I mean, not talking for myself, the rope would have been going like this if I'd have been in the middle with my big fat bum. But Lauren's only little.
So do you think that the rope bounces more if there's more weight on it? Is that what you're saying? Do you think so? Yeah.
So for Tony, poor man, oh God, bless him. And
he was the one who was utterly terrified of heights.
Oh, mate, he was beside himself.
Yeah.
But didn't he show, and this is going back to my previous point of, when you've got no trust in yourself, you put it in the DS. If they trust you to do it, you've just got to do it.
Yeah. The
DS is saying do it. The DS don't look forward to any paperwork that might ensue if they kill you. Do you know what I mean? Then that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
They don't want anything other than you to be safe and to do the job, but they do want to test you. So they make it hairy.
Yeah.
But they will have tested and tested and tested the scenario so that it was as safe as it could possibly be. Safe as houses, really.
Safe as houses. It would have to be safe as houses, wouldn't it? Can you imagine? But that feeling when you're hanging, no matter whether you've got a safety rope on or not, it would be, it would test most of us. I'm thinking, in terms of dangling over that lovely valley.
Going back to last week as well, compare and contrast Tony Ballou giving it balls out fear. Okay, I'm going to show you my scared face. And John Fashional giving it, scared face.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
And
I know.
and that in itself is a mark of the man's character, Tony Ballou's character. That, you know, I'm going to show you my scared face now. I'm cacking my knickers.
Yeah, absolutely. He showed another side to him, didn't he? Thank you, Penny, for your lovely comments. If anybody's got any questions for Liz, you'd
Hi,
be happy.
Penny.
Yeah, happy to answer them. Right. So Tony said, I'm just reading from my notes. And he said it's only a matter of time. Do you remember when Ant was having a go at him? It's only a matter of time. In fact, I think this was when he was in with everybody. Only a matter of time before I implode.
He did.
You know,
that was a shot across the bows, wasn't it?
It was. It was like a precursor to just watch out.
But it wasn't a threat. It was a warning. I think I'm going to go off pop. It wasn't a sort of like, have you? It was it's going to get messy in a minute, and I don't know what's going to happen, but it's going to get messy.
Yeah. And the thing that you were saying about downloading earlier on in when we were chatting earlier on, you were saying you've got to download and keep downloading. And it's almost like, I wonder whether he's got that, because, you know, when he said it's only a matter of time before I implode, but then Ant really pushed him, didn't he? Was in his face. I mean, the difference in their height, like you said, Ant was 5'8", and I think Tony Ballou is like 6'7" or something. And Ant was in his face, really putting him under pressure.
Did you notice the skill with which Ant was doing that?
Talk us through it, please, Liz.
Ant doing that to Tony, he was very, very skillful in what he was doing there, because he could read just, you know, nanosecond by nanosecond, he could read what was going on for Tony and how soon he was going to get twatted by Tony Ballou. And at the moment when Tony Ballou was just about to go, oh, fucking hell, I'm going to have you in a minute. And it's nothing personal either. It's not personal.
Yeah.
But the moment when it looked like, whoa, something's going to give, and I've got to get physical in a minute to express whatever it is, the turmoil that's going on within me at the moment, and just backed down and allowed Tony Ballou to reassemble himself, to reassemble his molecules, pull all his explosive molecules back into one place, and just reorganize himself.
Yeah,
I thought that was very skillfully done.
So talk me through that, because there was definitely a moment at which I think Tony could have gone, and he didn't. And there was almost like, the way I saw it is almost like a calm came over him. So there was a reset of something. So do you think it was the skillfulness of the way that Ant put him under pressure and didn't just but gave him that sort of relief at the right moment that allowed him to do that?
Two things. Tony Ballou was on receive, and that's evident also when some of the narrative he was giving about, I've got so much I want to learn, I want to learn. He's on receive, right? So he's not letting his ego in the way like other people have suffered from. So his ego is getting smaller by the moment. He's learning how to dispatch that and download. And the second thing is that Ant, remember what we were talking about in the first week or so, when we said about when we coach or when we're in communication, if we're coming from here and we give in just a little bit of love or whatever you call it, positive, whatever. I think, and you couldn't see this, but I have a strong feeling that Ant with Tony is giving as much of that as he can. And in his face, there'll be one thing, but if Tony's on receive, which Tony is, he'll be doing the face thing, but he'll also know that there's a tone of the voice There is something coming out of Anne going, come on, son, you've got it. You've got this. It's an unspoken thing, and an energy. And if Tony Ballou is on receive, as he is getting this subliminal message of, I have got you, you know. You can do this. That's what's going on, and that's the skill that's involved there. And Ant's got him, and Tony knows that. And I think all the DS are like that with Tony, because they recognise in the man that he has, or is in control of, diminishing his ego so that he can learn. And he's used that word before quite a few times, you know, in the little cameo bits when they do the interview with them. I'm enjoying this. I want to learn.
Yeah. Yes. And his face is open when he's saying that. It's genuine, isn't it? Authentic.
His eyes have gone softer.
Yeah, they have. They really have.
He's a humble man. And whether he was before, I don't know. But he is learning this humility day on day on day on. And that is your fundamental difference between his approach and what was evident, as far as I was concerned, with Brendan. Brendan hadn't caught up with that.
Yeah. So when he was being interviewed by the DS, and then he spoke about his brother-in-law who went to Mexico and then obviously fell off a balcony somewhere and unfortunately had, you know, they lost him. That's really, really bothered him. And here's the thing, right? So as coaches, we don't have the answers. And this is one of the important messages that comes across in coaching all the time. And the DS, again, demonstrated so beautifully that they couldn't fix that. How can you can't fix that? No. But they wanted him to find a way in which he could overcome that or get to the other side of it. I can't remember the exact words that they used. And it was really about giving him hope that there is something, there is a journey, and there is something on the other side of where he is right now. And you know, how important is it for them not to go, oh, you know, well, yeah, that happened to me, and I know someone, and I lost someone, you know, to do all that disclosure thing, and then to sort of, how important is it that the DS behave? I have to say, they do behave like amazing coaches in a very.
I was just about to say that they really do.
Yeah.
They never try and fix anybody. They never try and go beyond the brief. But they are confident that what they are providing at the moment is an environment within which each person, if they go to where they're pointed, will become resourceful enough to sort this out, all out on their own terms. And that is the gold deluxe answer to life. It's key. It's the key.
Yeah, the gold deluxe answer to life, Liz.
Do you like that? Can you have that?
I love it. I love it. I love it. The gold deluxe answer to life, which I think is fantastic. Thank you for your time. We've got lovely Penny and we've got Helen talking or asking about Joey. So Penny says, Liz, how do you think Joey Essex is doing? And Helen Luckman says, I think Joey seems to be coming over better than I expected. So what's your view on Joey?
Joey is doing all of the above, quietly getting on with assimilating everything he's learned so far, and he is relishing, I think, this development that's going on here, because he is totally aware that in the classroom he didn't amount to much academically, but he's in tune with the idea that actually when he thinks things through, he can get across them pretty well. And he's used this time so far, I think, to get across everything that the DS have thrown him. And he's quietly processing it all. A little bit like Tony Ballou seems to be quietly processing it all. And losing his rag from time to time and getting cross with himself. But
yeah,
he's downloading from the right places. Tony Ballou is downloading from the right places. Lauren, I think, is downloading from the right places. The other young lady that we haven't seen much of yet, for some reason, she must be downloading from the right places because we haven't seen much of.
Yeah, no, that's right. Yeah.
And who else is there now? And we didn't see much of Locksmith last night, apart from Paul Sod looked absolutely so far out of his comfort zone in that water. He wasn't. I think he was terrified of it.
Yeah.
And very, very uncomfortable to the point of pain and didn't know what to do with himself. But you know what? He didn't quite make a break for it. I think at one stage he was at the end of that line in the cold water, and I think for 2 pins he'd have gone, I'm off. But whoever was next to him, and I didn't notice who that was, kept him in. And teamwork.
Brilliant. And being on the end, I think he was on the end, wasn't he? Being on the end, you haven't got anybody else to anchor to on the other side of you. And if the waves are coming in that way, they're going to keep pushing you into everybody else. So it's going to be tougher, I would think, to be on the outside because you've only got one anchor. You're only linking arms with the person on one side of you. What do you think?
Possibly. It all depends on how confident you are in the water. I don't see a confident man in the water there at all.
No.
It's probably a man that will avoid it most of the time. If you're more confident in the water, then you won't mind the action of the sea. You won't mind the fact that you're only anchored on the one side, because if you're a floater, because I'm fat enough to be a floater, so I'm not a problem. Yeah, I'm float. But don't forget as well that the cold water, the actual cold temperature of that water is just well and truly taking the blooming wind out of your sails. So you try to take a breath as well.
Yeah.
I think that wherever he'd have been down that line, it would have been hideous for him. And I think actually, if he'd have been further down the line and been anchored in, I think he would have panicked very, very badly.
Oh, right.
And he might have, and he may have dragged the others down. I think I think that him being on the end was possibly to his benefit. But I don't know. This is a whole. And maybe that's. The DS are really, really experienced, and maybe they thought, right, we'll stick Locksmith on the end because he might be better there.
Amazing.
I don't know.
So much untold experience, isn't there? In the setup.
Years and years of experience between them. Yeah.
God, yeah, they're smart. They're really super smart. Helen says, who do you think's going to win, Liz?
I don't know, and I really truly don't know. Like I said, I wasn't there. I wonder whether Helen and Tony and Joey are there in the last three.
Not Lauren, not Locksmith.
I don't know. I don't. This is just a hunch.
Yeah.
Because I know them better. I know what Helen's backstory is a little bit. She's done a load of really stunning things, hasn't she? Challenged herself, and I know that up here she'd be pretty strong. Probably Lauren as well, but I just don't know. I just don't know. It's not easy to see at the moment from what happened in this week's episode how Lauren has taken on board what was said to her by the DS about the teamwork thing and about being a team player, because she had to take some criticism to bed with her and try and process that.
So if we think about sort of Joey and Helen, if we haven't seen much of Helen, she's obviously coping really well with things. And Joey seems to just put up with everything that's thrown at him. As you say, he follows the rules. What do you think it would take for them to be, I mean, it's a ridiculous question, really, but what do you think it would take for them to be really challenged? What's going to really challenge them, given that they're coping really well with things thus far?
That's a simple answer to that. The interrogation.
Of course.
When they're sat down and somebody's been nice to them and giving them a cup of tea and not beasting them around. But they're also having to think about their cover story, and they're tired from their escape, and we've dislocated their expectations as far as we can. Then you sit them down and interrogate them, and they'll be going, no. The hardest thing is that talking to another human being is the most natural thing in the world. And the hardest thing is then knowing how to do that.
Yeah.
How do I do this for me, for my team? How do I do this to best effect to protect the story of what we were doing so that other people out on the ground don't get hurt? They've got time to get themselves out of there before anybody else, before we give the game away, or all of that jazz. They'll be like, oh, you know what, the running around was really hard, but I wish I was still running around because I can't blooming think.
Wow.
And then they get put back into the stress positions, and it's like, and Tony Ballou is going to struggle like hell with that. Right. Because he's such a big bloke. I think he's going to really, hands on the head and all that. It's going to, oh God, it'd be hideous for him.
How long are they in those stress positions for?
Generally speaking, 10 to 20 minutes, and then I'll change over to another one. But it's when you're tired.
Yeah.
It's beyond funny. It's like, and that is where the grit comes from. Okay, we've had you running around for 9 days. Now do this.
Yeah.
And it's fine for a moment or two when you're not tired. If you've got really, really tired, though, you've got to really chat to them all the time about, just staying in one place and trying to relax, but still hold the position. And then somebody will come along, and then they'll put their hands back up here, and then they'll maybe cross your fingers, and so you think, okay, I've got something else to think about now. And eventually the person that's looking at you will walk away, and you'll try and make it more comfortable and whatever, and then they'll come back, and it's all a power thing as well. Like, you've got to, as a prisoner, your art is somebody else's, and it's that dejection.
Wow.
There's a lot going on when they get taken and interrogated. It's not just about getting into the interrogation room.
Fantastic. I'm really, really looking forward to, I mean, obviously I don't wish that to happen to human beings, but I'm really looking forward to seeing how they cope with it. And you remember when we were talking about the Radio 1 DJ who couldn't cope with the noise? It was the noise, and we were talking about how, because he's very auditory, because sound is very important to him, because he's a Radio 1 DJ and things, the sounds coming through the ears.
Dev, wasn't it, last time in the last series of Celebrity? Yeah, Dev.
Yeah, yes. And I'm just wondering if Locksmith, that might get to Locksmith, because again, he's a musician. I'm just wondering about that, really, whether if you're very in tune with sounds, can you filter out those sounds, or do they really, really get to you? So it'd be interesting to see what happens.
Did depends, doesn't it, whether you decide in here that in order to be resourceful with what's coming into your ears, you've got to be creative with it, or whether you react to it. Now, maybe Dare is auditory, but he was reacting.
Yeah.
Maybe Blocksmith, although he's possibly auditory, can think, okay, rather than react to this, I'm going to just process it until it comes out as a hit single. I don't know. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It all depends then. Once it hits your senses, how am I going to process this then?
Yeah.
Let's get creative with it. Or, oh my God, this is really getting on my tits. I'm going to, or, you know, can you imagine if you've got babies on there and you're thinking, oh, I think I might start lactating in a minute. It's just awful. Awful.
Awful. Can't imagine. But it's great telly, isn't it, Liz?
Yeah. It is for telly. I don't know whether there's a 5 or 6 episode series this time. It might be 6. So next week is episode 5. And then the interrogation episode will be after that. So
right.
So
are we going to meet again next Tuesday so we can chat about it?
If you'd like me to meet with you next Tuesday and we'll chat about it, that's absolutely fine. We'll do that.
Well, I would love it, and I'm sure everybody listening to this will love it, whether they're listening now, whether they're listening after the event. It's been absolutely brilliant, Liz. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for your amazing skill and insight. And thanks.
You've just caught. I was just playing with the drumsticks then.
Yeah. So, are you going to give us a bit of a drum roll?
What now?
Go on.
Really?
Yeah, go on. Show us what you can do.
I'm not showing you what I can do. I'll just give you a quick one.
I want to move the camera over, Liz. We can't see you.
No, you don't want to see me. That's all you're getting.
That was great. Bravo. Thank you so much for coming, you.
I'll get a cello out next week.
Just remind us what your website is called, Liz.
It's lizabram.co.uk. That's where you want to go if you want to have a look at what I do. Yeah,
brilliant. So get some coaching in with the lovely Liz Abram. She's absolutely ace from start to finish. Thank you, Liz. And I'll see you next Tuesday. Thank you so much. All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Take care, everyone.